We love thinking about accessibility and bringing accessibility features to our apps. I remember one app that we built a few years ago that was meant to be used by airline pilots. So they have a very specific problem because sometimes they fly during daylight and sometimes they fly at night. Obviously during daylight they want to match that lighting source from the outside and the big tablet devices that they use for navigation. And at night, if the tablets were so bright, that would cause tremendous problems to the pilots. They would not be able to see properly. So an accessibility measure could be dark versus light mode switching for apps, something that's very popular today. So even if we create a dark mode, we need to think about contrast in light for any piece of content that we have in our app. So it's not just the UI, it's also the media. So imagine the pilot flying at night with a beautiful dark UI, and then all of a sudden we have a screaming white image showing at the screen. So it's really defeating the purpose of the dark UI. We need to find a way to show not just the UI in a given profile. We need to find a way to also show images in our media that are adapted for dark or light environment.
In this example, we have a simple white page with an image. Our goal is to allow it to change light versus dark appearance. We are going to use a manual selection through a CSS class first, and then we are going to learn how we can use native operating system settings to detect if the user has a preference for a light or a dark UI. To get started, we are creating a new style tag just to set the basic theme settings. In this example, we obviously have a white background and dark, almost black text color. Here's what the default could look like if we use CSS custom properties or CSS variables. We set the variable for the background color to be white and color or text color to be 2B, which is almost black. Then we apply those variables to the background color and color properties of the body. If I reload the app now, nothing really changes because these are our defaults. My next step is to create a custom CSS class that I'm going to call Darko. Darko is going to override the root property, the background and color variables, to something that's more appropriate for a dark UI. Simply flipping these two variables is going to be enough. So Darko really works on the body, so I'm going to add this class name to the body element and reload our page. What I expect to see is that the page turns dark. That is great, but I want to make this automated. I want to automate the transition based on the user's preferences. So if it's automated, then obviously I don't need any class names. We can actually do all that in CSS by using a special media query. This level 5 media query called prefers color scheme can react to variables like dark or light. In this case, we are looking for a dark color scheme that's set by default on a user operating system level. And then simply when a user is using a dark mode, then we are going to replace the root variables. Background is going to be 2B, and color is going to become white, which is directly opposite of the variables that we have here for the light UI. When I reload the app now, I don't think anything is going to change just because we already used Darko, but we don't have Darko class name anymore. So technically we proved that prefers color scheme worked, but just to be safe, I'm going to pull up the operating system settings and we're going to change light to dark and vice versa. Okay, this is my setting and I'm going to go back to light. Okay, what I see is that my application reacted on the fly to my changes in the operating system settings. Going back to dark changes the UI to dark again. Actually, it did that faster than the Chrome UI. So this works really well, but to appreciate a dark UI more, I would really expect to get dark screenshots or dark images as well, maybe dark compatible images. Imagine you're flying a plane and you're looking at this application from your big tablet screen. Really, everything that shines around you are the stars and a few buttons in the cockpit. But this stark image is literally going to blind you. What pilots would expect in that environment, which is naturally dark, would be to see a fully featured dark UI. So it's not just a background, it's not just a text. It should also include the images. Now we can also do that, and again, we don't have to use JavaScript. Let's see how that works. While the image tag does not really support this on its own, we can use the picture tag that actually uses embedded media queries. Just like CSS, we can use media queries in the picture tag. And here's what that looks like. Okay, it may seem a bit longer, but that totally makes sense. So the picture tag is wrapping an image tag just as it did earlier, but we have two source tags in addition. One is using the settings dark PNG, which is the image for the dark mode. And that image is activated when preferred color scheme is set to dark. Alternatively, if the color scheme is light or there's no preference, then we can use settings light. By default, we also use settings light because we want to make sure that this is compatible with browsers that don't support the latest features. I am saving this and reloading the browser. And there we go. We have a dark mode compatible image. No JavaScript required. If you would really like to use JavaScript as well, we can make that happen too. I'm going to roll back to just the image tag. And I'm doing this just so I can show the power of JavaScript, of course. Now, I also need a script tag because that's where my JavaScript executes from. And let's add some JavaScript here. Let me walk you through this JavaScript. First, we need to capture the screenshot element, and this is the image with ID screenshot. Then we tap into the JavaScript Match Media API, which is the interface for media queries in JavaScript. I'm using the same preferred color scheme dark as I did earlier in the CSS. And let's set this aside for a second because now we have a function. Set screenshot function is going to set the source attribute to the screenshot element or the image tag based on whether we said it is a dark environment or it's not. So this is basically a Boolean. So if it is dark, then use settings dark. If it's not, then use settings light. Easy as that. As our JavaScript executes, it's going to get to the set screenshot execution of the same function. And with this, I'm actually reading the media query that I allocated right here in the match dark variable. So the property matches is going to be true or false based on this media query being true or not. Finally, I add a new listener on the media query. And if that value ever changes, then let's set screenshot again with the matches that comes from the event argument. Okay, I'm saving and reloading this screen, and there we go, it's dark. Changing this in the OS settings again, going to light. And yes, my JavaScript actually worked. Going back to dark, JavaScript kicked in and changed my user interface to dark again. You don't have to copy the source code, it's available. Take a look at the description below. The blog post I referenced below shows all this and a few more ideas on going dark mode.
The tools that we need to achieve this exist. They are available and ready for you to use. So go ahead and use them and let us know how it goes.
If you care for web performance as much as we do, learn how Gimbal can help automate audits. Also take a look at rapid prototyping with Cloudflare Workers, Ionic, and React. Don't forget to like and share this video if you think it's helpful to people in your network.